Hello and good morning from New York. I'd like to give thanks to people that have contributed so much unknowingly, perhaps, to my ability to make these videos. That would include big time Big Linux. Big, Big Linux is how I got the sound working for me for these videos. So, big thanks to Big Linux and to all the Linux distributions and the great creativity that they have. Great joy that I've had distro hopping to those creators, I wish I was so smart. Um, and I'd like to thank the YouTube community. Their educational videos are absolutely spectacular. And Today's subject, NDEs, illusions, benefits, cures, politics, and IMC, intermind communication. Well, let me start off with letting you know how I think. When I was a kid, I was annoyed that there were extra squares on the checkerboard that it didn't seem to need to be there. Play checkers. So I got rid of the extra squares and instead of moving across points, I moved across the sides. Checkers without the extra squares, cutting out the fluff, what's not necessary. And that's a big part of, I think, for good or ill. And yeah, and then after that, I went, well, why the extra squares? Well, with the extra squares, you can play chess as well. So I said, oh, that's why they do that. Okay. Small bit of enlightenment for a small mind. Um, but yeah, it's still like that. I'm amazed at the brilliant minds out there that you listen to them, make sense, they make sense, and then past what you can understand, soar like a bird growing distant in the sky and disappearing. It's smart enough to to be able to follow that bird and take that journey. So, but you got to deal with what you got. So, be going like the ape, looking at the. But anyhow, NDEs. There's some illusions. Look at patterns, you know, stating. I look at patterns and similarities between things. Dissimilarity. So there are a few things that I take note of from, great neurologists, research folks. Um, and Sapolsky, that guy who studies primates, including us. I hope he's still around. I'm still around, God knows why. And anyway, yeah, the NDEs let's look at the popping in and out of the body thing. Well, there's a lot of different things that can trigger that, they say. Some of it is extreme threat. You think you're gonna die. Just the thought of it can induce out of body. Well, why the out of body? Why would the brain get that illusion? Because you're not safe in your body. Like the whole philosophy that I talk about, the theory behind the form of inner mind communication that I espouse. Yeah, that's a kind of helplessness. It's an anxiety level that's just not tolerable. And just like that intolerable anxiety creates symbolic versions that feel safer, just so. And when you're popping out of your body, you don't feel safe in your body. Messages coming in are overwhelmingly anxiety provoking. So, partly in order to save the brain, avoid further damage, the body, creates illusions, symbolic. The same with the symbolic need that I talk about. It's created to avoid anxiety. Something more attainable. So that's okay. Another thing about popping in and out of your body is that there's an area of the brain, they say, that check its site, but I'm not a pro. I don't know how to cite things. I don't have the memory, actually, supposedly. But anyway, this has been induced. There's some folks that he's a neurologist, but he found that we're doing brain research, and there's an area of the brain that gives you a sense of your position in space, in your environment, and he inhibited that. And a person would pop out of their body, and they would see themselves outside of their body. Then he doesn't inhibit it, pop back in, out, in, out. Science can create out-of-body experiences, right? In the lab. Hello. So that part of the NDE is like, okay, that's not really proof that you were outside of your body. Another thing is that when they were trying to study this phenomenon, they had Neil deGrasse Tyson said this, cited there, they put a sign, placard or whatever, with something written on it outside, up above the body where they definitely could not see it. And then the people would have an NDE and be zooming around, looking down in their body and all of this sort of thing, but they could never tell the researchers what was on that side. Tell you something? So there's a lot of illusion involved with it. There's this report with NDEs that in the NDE, everybody, we're all connected. And whatever this person, was thinking in my NDE, I knew what they were thinking. And all this, all this mind reading. Well, think about it. If this is an adventure in your imagination, your brain is creating all of these other people and you, your own sense of self. You mentioned IMC. It's it creates everything. So of course, you're creating all the characters. You're writing the book. What's in their minds? Yeah, you'd know that. You'd feel like you knew that. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah. Um, the things that are odd that explain are how a person can know things and see things that on occasion that they shouldn't have been able to see or know. Knowing things about, when someone died. These things are interesting, but it doesn't need a leap to the supernatural. Um, there's a lot of, things, look, we're on a cell phone. We can go on a cell phone and talk with somebody around the world. How do we know that the brain doesn't function as a transmitter and receiver on outside of our normal bandwidth, or what the bandwidth of energies that we know, that we're aware of. And so maybe through that, um, uh, maybe that's how they might know. And then maybe there's connections between people that were once connected with. And that sounds a little like quantum mechanics, two tangled particles that when one's up and the other's down, well, they seem to be communicating faster than the speed of light, perhaps. Um, are they, or are they just entangled in a way that sees time and space, that can be understandable if we could understand something, other dimensions. The kind of connections there. You can say um, that, yeah, so what? It's still a cool experience. Well, yeah, it seems to be. It's one thing that I noticed. It said that they will report that the colors were so beautiful, the sounds were so beautiful. Nothing on this earth plane really it's um that is nothing like it. Well, maybe again that theory that I espoused, that the brain is actually capable of picking up a broader range of color, perhaps, or sound than normal. Um, yeah, it's possible, I suppose. If you're having that kind of experience, then yeah, nothing that you knew that you normally filter out would be an experience that I'm getting lost here. I'm old. I'm old. Um, yeah, nothing filtered the way our brain normally does, which is their survival reasons. We're typically aware of what we need to be aware of to survive. That's the guiding principle. So, yeah, nothing would compare. Once you're not exciting the brain in that way, causing it to wildly receive more inputs. That reminds me of the more malleable infant brain or mind that can be accessed in out-of-body things, psychedelics. And that's a kind of effect from the psychedelics anyway, that it takes you to a place that's like before you had a self-concept, free ego, more malleable, exciting, opening up more than the normally hardwired survival links that were important for us to survive. But it is quite possible that we could have a greater circuitry. The circuitry was was a lot slower, a lot of like mini little roads instead of no main highways. And as we grow and mature, we create these main highways, which are very helpful for us to conserve energy and survive. So, yeah, so that might be curative in some cases. So this might be the life changes that the NDEs create that it takes, trauma can, create this kind of regression to a more open, infant, malleable brain response. It can open up other channels because you're not comfortable in your body. It's the illusion you leave it. You're not comfortable with your normal senses, and so your hard wiring. That's uncomfortable. Then, yeah, there's a way out. That is to, desperately seek other passage and kind of regression. And from that regression, you can get change in your life. You can be transformed. And IMC talks about the theory that backs that up. Refers to empathies. Remember, this feeling of empathy, the ease, it's just like a better connection to these forms of empathy, which is a little different than is the progression. Life change means, you need new pathways. The trauma creates these new pathways. From these new pathways, well, we lose the attachment to our wired self-concepts. And that can be helpful in creating a greater sense of empathy. But where I note that here's something about I would call similar to Neil deGrasse Tyson's God of the Gaps, where you're under trauma and so on, and you kind of feel helpless, and that feeling is, scarily close to what is probably true, that we do not have free will. And so, God of the Gaps. Well, they would say in the NDE that they have these experiences that, of course, we know, and they chose. Yes, there was a sense that there was no real free will going there, but that they chose that life, which was determined. It was all predetermined, the whole life that they chose when they were in this heaven, place where they feel safe and loved. And from there, they chose free will, chose this life. Really, you would choose to be a sociopathic serial killer? It's all about learning. Well, that sounds like something that happens in this plane, this reality that we see through our filters. But what does learning have to do with anything? When they also claim that in that other state they knew everything. But oddly, they don't know everything when they come back. Well, that's the limitations of the brain. Huh? Could it be that you were under an illusion that you knew everything? When you were fled even from a sense of being in you're connected to your low. Yeah. Well, you understand everything in a way because you created the whole experience yourself. Your brain did. I mean, talk about yourself. You might as well say it's the brain. And there's this higher power idea. Let's go into that. There's this super soul. Well, I would posit that higher self is your brain. It's your sense that there's something greater than your self-concept and your sense of who, what you are. It's your brain. And I've heard that higher self described as the supreme controller, the supreme enjoyer. That's your brain. And you are not your brain when you're trying to be aware. You're in the grand illusion that you made that decision, not your brain. It's some automatic pilot. And that means more or less your brain is, you know, the source of this idea that you have this higher power, this thing that connects you better to your world, your universe. The universe as you imagine it is all you know. It's all we know. And yeah, and the brain is creating it. So there you go with the creator. So, so the whole world had a creator. Creator lives in you. Well, your brain creates your imagination of how the world is. Period. And so it is the creator. And it's in you, all right. It's your brain. It's in your body. Which you have a connection to. It helps you survive. You know, in your normal life, you wouldn't feel disconnected from your body. So in a way, that's a bit of a disease. You know. And the other thing that needs to be pointed out is that they've found that people having these kind of NDEs came in with drug overdoses and whatever, that they will have two memories. One that's positive, and then when they give them the naloxone to save their lives, and they get rid of this artificial painkiller, it's then that whole picture of heaven and all of that changes into, you know, things that are very negative, demonic, frightening. Yeah. So the whole experience changed because of the chemistry of the brain, right? So, is there a heaven? That's your brain chemistry. So, these things are, all useful to understand. Cutting out the fluff. And then, you have mystery. How did they know this? How did they know that? And mystery is not opposed to science. Mystery is what inspires science to study. Scientists love mystery because it's a chance to try and understand something that they didn't understand before. Mm-hmm. So, this idea that there's this division between mystery and science, and, you have a connection to mystery. And that mystery is this ultimate reality. Well, your ultimate reality is your brain. For you, for each of us, it's going to be our own brain. And yeah. So namaste, honoring all the higher power in you and the other person. Yeah. That's honoring your brain, honoring their brain. Boom. I mean, just rationally speaking. And is it better to be rational and give up all of these wonderfully comforting sorts of beliefs? Yeah, it's better if, it means you're healthier, You're not in threat. You're not immediately about to die or thinking you are, you're good. I'm good. How you doing? I'm good. Um, yeah. So, IMC. Well, it cuts out the plot. You say, oh, you go in your imagination, you're a little lost in your imagination. Could be, but IMC uses objective, mm, creative empathy, and compassionate empathy. All of these things are the source of our virtues, goodness, truth, and art. All of these things are connected in a way to reality. So it's not just an escape into your imagination to do these practices. It's a practice of your capacity for empathy, and part of that is objective. And the dramatic self that you experience, where there's time, there's space, and you're doing things in it, and that that brain is well, that sense of yourself, which is not exactly your brain, your experience of drama. Okay, reason that ACEs is going to limit your health and so on, and toxic helplessness and damage by the law, degrees of helplessness, um, and, and related to levels of maturation. More the helplessness you experience as an adult is damaged. You're aware of it all. Yeah, and you know that you're hurting. And you deal with ACEs, it's a little tougher. It's that's like what the Arctic General second line. First line is unless it's a really extreme life threat, such as a war. So it makes it intense anyway. But ACEs is it's your development, child self, self that is language and that you easily can remember. But toxic helplessness, it's more related to first line. General comes about first line pain. That level of anxiety and helplessness feel before you even have a subconcept. That can be very impacting. In the book, Arthur Janoff's last book, it's Life Before Birth, the hidden script that rules your life. Excellent. Didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. I gave my copy away, and then lost the one that I bought for myself. My original copy. It fell off the top of my car. Someone grabbed it. I lost it. So I never finished that book, but that was, it is a great book, and what I do love it or whatever achievement part of late in life. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. There's no editing and all of that sort of thing you see with the other fancy, well done videos. But thank God, this is all I can give you. Because I'm not that smart, dude. I don't have people helping me, so yeah. So anyway, that's my take on some of these things. And politics. Wow, yeah. Well, you got your liberals, right? And the far left is like, everything's love. It's like, it's like, yeah. So it can get a little crazy. You're not dealing with full decks, you're not right. Seriously enough drama. You're assuming, oh, everybody's good. Everybody. Deep down inside, the sociopath is a problem. We have to learn it. It's not, it's born in. Studies showing that it develops. So, I mean, that's what I call spiritual growth. It's a growth in abilities, forms of empathy. I mentioned more creative, objective, compassion. It was give virtues, where spiritual growth. The exercise of these things, the exercise of its roots of these empathies, focus, expression, and play, can strip away the symbolic defenses so that you can feel that helplessness and learning. You can re-experience and cry out for needs that you have too lost in symbols for you to really connect to and deal with. That's covered in some other things that I talked about. Okay, back to politics. That's your liberals, and they call it a wide-eyed liberal. It's, oh, too trusting, really, too trusting. And then you've got the conservatives and the far right. All of the empathies are like totally missing there, You're lost in the empathies on the far left, you're just all about empathizing with that other person and trusting them. You're a more trusting person. You're too trusting. And on the far right, you don't trust nobody. It's a much more self-centered kind of approach, and these far right people, it's like they may sense that something's wrong. They don't deal. Neither side deals well with their dramatic lives. The far right, senses something's wrong and then creates conspiracy theories and crazy stuff, to explain it. Like the NDEs creating all of this. Interesting. Yeah, they go nuts. Yeah. Oh, they're aliens, and Democrats are evil. Well, one side's going to see the other side. That's that punishing thing. That's sickness. That spiritual illness. Both sides are going to criticize. the evil world, which is unfortunate. Well, where did they meet together? The people were balanced between right, in touch better with the drama of their lives and understanding it better than, total trust or total suspicion. Oh, those doctors, they don't care. They just, yeah, no. The pharmaceutical people, they, they just want to hop down drugs. That's it. They don't care about your. No, yes, they do. So, I mean, then the left is they're too creative for one thing. It really upsets some of the people on the right. But they like a rigid kind of view. The others are very, too loosey goosey and very creative. Like, well, uh, you can call me whatever. Yeah, my lady. Well, mm, in some ways, for heaven's sakes, it gets to the point that, you don't know what to call people, you don't know what, it's a little extreme, and, funny to watch him fight, it's like, when I was a kid, I was, a little sociopath and watched the red ants and the black ants. Yeah. Put them together on purpose and watch them. Like a real life movie. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, they're funny. You And the comedians, of course, they're great. The good ones that make fun of both sides. Yeah, who was this? Who was that guy? There's one comedian that he would get in trouble with the left when he make fun of them. He'd get in trouble with the right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there are people who want to kill humor. Can't offend anyone. You have to respect every opinion. No, the opinion is wrong, especially if it's life and death decision you're looking at. No, it's like the opinion that lost, that caused so much pain and suffering in World War II. Oh, they can't come across the Ardennes, that's not possible. But we saw them, no, couldn't happen. That opinion allowed overall, an inferior force to annihilate the Allies, who at that time, were more advanced overall. Far. Um, you need a little imagination going. You lost it, you want to be imagining the truth. So every opinion is not the same. Some opinions are just wrong. The world is not flat, and we're not the only planet. The sun doesn't go around the earth. Hello. And they say, well, science is wrong. No, they have theories, and those theories predict. And they may not be perfect, but they're reliable on a certain level for prediction of what happened before, or predict what you will find, go into history, or what you'll find in the lab, right? So it's a growth, a continual growth. It's not that you know Newton was totally abandoned. He still uses his understandings. It's just that we have for other purposes and for concepts, we have other understandings. We still don't have a unified field theory. We're working on it. And, we can't understand this, how the body experiences. Popping them in, popping them back, out, in, out, just by manipulating, a certain area of the brain. Yeah. So anyway, it's very moving kind of experience with the NDEs. Politics is fun, and funny. And we're all that way. A little crazy. Now you see more. Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, you have brains. Use them. Yeah. Our democracy is fragile. It is. We almost had a group of people hang our vice president. Oh my God. Um, that was an insurrection, okay? Yeah. That was inspired by Donald Trump. And let's hope our legal system, communications, general sanity of the populace will prevent our falling away from democracy. We're borderline. We've always been borderline from the beginning. And there was the Civil War. But we came out of that, somewhat improved. And we still have a long way to go. So, yeah. Yeah, there's light coming in. Sun. I'm sorry that I'm so old, but I'm grateful that I've gained some wisdom. And I still enjoy my life. It's more limited. And when you go to make plans, well, you don't want to plan too far ahead. But yeah, when all these fireworks brain finally come to an end. Okay, no problem. There was never really a me anyway. Yeah. It's another illusion. that goes and comes with sleep. Yeah. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. May you rest well, live well, and the brain in me, mysterious, needs a brain. Understanding you, namaste. Take care. And wherever you are and whoever you are, my heart goes out to you if you're suffering. Sorry for that. The suffering is around the world. So let's all try to be the hero of love. Preserve our democracy and keep growing as a society worldwide. Anyway, take care of yourselves.